Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're now ready for this session, a masterclass on UPI Help for customers and business. And I'd like you to please get your hands together and welcome our presenters of this masterclass. We have Vanila Mehta, Senior Associate Product Manager, UPI at National Payment. And we have Rajesh Dangwani, in charge of Customer Success UPI at NPCI. A big round of applause for them, please, ladies and gentlemen.
So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this masterclass on UPI Help for customers and business. Myself, Rajesh Dangwani, I am in charge Customer Success for IMPS, UPI, and AEPS in NPCI. And along with me, my colleague, Vanila Mehta, she's a product manager for this UPI Help. So we will just begin the session. So we have a short session, and we will just begin the session. Over to you, Vanila.
Can we have the deck, please? Yeah, so before starting, let me ask you a question. How many of you have gone through a scenario where you are making payment to a person or a merchant and it has gone into a pending stage or it has failed? Okay, every one of them. Okay, so let us talk about each and every scenario next. Yeah, so Mr. Sham is a customer and he has gone to XYZ clothing store. Scenario one is that Mr. Sham is trying to make a payment and it has gone into a pending stage. Now, according to you, what he should do? Sorry? So he'll be very frustrated. Probably the next step that he'll take is make another payment. Or if he is at the store himself, there will be a long queue behind him, and not only his experience is getting hampered, the people, those who are standing behind him, are also, their experience is also getting deteriorated. Scenario two is Mr. Sham's payment is successful, but the merchant hasn't received the payment. Now, there is a very high probability that there will be a very huge fight between both of them. Both of them will be sharing their screen that, see, my payment is successful, and he'll say that I haven't still received the payment. Next scenario is for Mr. Sham, the payment has failed, but Sham didn't get the reversal yet. So probably he'll be asked to talk to his bank. Probably he'll talk to his payment service provider, or he'll just accept that my money is gone for good. Now the fourth scenario is that Mr. Sham has selected few goods, he has bought it, the payment was successful, and now he is trying to return the goods and he is expecting the refund. Now this is not exactly a customer's issue, this is now the merchant is who is at the receiving end, right? So he'll probably have to go to his payment aggregator. Now he will talk to his bank. This way the refund would have taken place, right? Now, what do we do now? On one hand, the payment system has evolved from barter system to digital payments. It has evolved exponentially. On the other hand, being a payment enabler, it's our duty to have a customer grievance redressal mechanism online. And that's why UPI Help.
Yeah, so thanks Vanilla for nicely explained. So as per the regulator direction and as a payment network, so what we felt is we need to have a ODR system. So we call it as UPI Help, basically. So RBI direction says you do the UPI Help for the customers. What we have done is we have done for both customers and merchant. So for example, in the case of customers, what it does is basically, it resolves the UPI transaction related complaint through the app. So customer need not visit the branch, need not call the bank call center, or need not write an email. Customer can raise, Mr. Sham can raise complaint from the UPI app itself. the complaints can be raised for both P2P transfers and merchant payments, basically. So it solve both the things. And it also allow users to check status of transaction app from the app. Say transaction goes to pending stage. So what is the status of app? So app allows them with the introduction of UPI Help to get the updated status, final status, and get the things basically clear. On the merchant side, of course, so it was more on the customer side, what customer can do. On the merchant side also, it solves. Basically, merchant can check the status. So Vanilla has given the example that transaction success, merchant didn't receive the payment. So we are giving this to address this scenario. The facility is provided to the merchant to check the status of the transaction. So he can check the status, okay, the transaction success, merchant can provide the goods and services to the customer. Merchant can do the initiate a partial or full refunds through UPI Help. So we have a typical system on T+1 after reconciliation, they can do the refund and it takes another 1 day to credit to the customer account. But this online refund enable on the real time customers gets a refund amount. So the complaint can be resolved. And also additionally, merchant can access what are the complaints on those payments and or disputes, and they can manage, they can respond to complaint, they can respond to dispute on the UI itself. So it cannot be dragged further.
So on the screen, you can have a look at the basic standard transaction flow. So how it starts with customer entering the UPI ID of pay. Pay can be merchant or it can be his friend. Now, it will go to UPI through, it will go to Pay PSP through UPI for address resolution, and then the debit request will go to the customer's bank. Till this step, there is no money involved, and hence there is no scope for customer to raise a complaint. Now, after this step, his money is got debited and the confirmation from bank is received by UPI. Now the customer's skin is in the game, right? So at this step, if there is any failure, there is a scope for customer to raise a complaint. Ideally, if any of the leg fails, the money should go back to the customer immediately. Now, the credit request goes to the merchant's bank and the confirmation comes from 8th step. Now, if this legs break, UPI will check from the bank thrice, and after that, it will declare it as an approved transaction, deemed approved transaction. Now, at this stage, if the leg fails, there is a scope for customer to raise a complaint that my transaction is successful, but I haven't received the confirmation. The merchant hasn't received the confirmation.
So this was on the transaction flow, which Vanilla has tried to explain in simple way. So what UPI Help does is, first is it check the status. So there is a API, which basically online. So once the transaction lifecycle completes, so basically API is there to check the status. So payer, that means payer means customer, using UPI app can know the status of pending transaction, and complaint and dispute can be raised if there are any. So this is how this UPI Help address the online transaction. Also, basically, what happens is transaction as UPI is a real-time transaction. So for any transaction, either debit or credit, we UPI expect response within 30 seconds. If we don't get a response within the predefined time, so this transaction goes to pending. So what system does is UPI, with the help of UPI, so it consolidates what are the transactions which are in the pending state, whether on debit side or on the credit side. It sends the proactive auto-update API to the respective bank to get the status after 1 hour or after 45 minutes. And it tries to solve those pending states proactively without customer raising the complaint. So this is complaint raise. So this is an example given for the simpler purpose. So Mr. Sham has done these transactions. So 5 transactions, all are successful. Now for the success transaction, complaint raise. So he will select the transaction, first transaction, and it will goes to the transaction history. And on this front, it will, on the second screen, he will click the UPI Help. So once he click the UPI Help, it will gives him the options, what is the reason of raising complaint. So it will select one of the reason as a duplicate multiple transaction, and complaint will be raised and routed to the respective beneficiary bank and respective merchant by the respective beneficiary bank for the response. So that was the first example for the success. Now it's a failed cases where the money is debited, but they have not received the goods and services, and it is failed at merchant level also. So what customer does, it will go to the transaction history, select that particular transaction, it will select the complaint raised and select the reason, and this complaint will be raised and routed to the respective merchant by the respective beneficiary bank. On the pending scenario, which is very famous, we don't know what is the state of success or decline, and on auto update also it does not give. So same way, it will go to the transaction history, see the status, select the transaction, select the reason, what is the reason of the complaint, and that complaint will be routed to the respective beneficiary bank for the solution.
Now, adhering to the RBI notification that all the refunds against the transactions should be through the original payment method only, we had recently introduced refund functionality through which refunds will be made through against the original transaction. Now, the scenario that I had explained in the end, now merchant won't have to put a signboard outside his shop that returns are not accepted. Now he can initiate refund on a real-time basis. Now, why there was a need to introduce this functionality? It is because right now there are multiple ways to initiate refund. Either they can do this through fresh transaction using account plus IFSC, or a push to VPA through IMPS, NEFT. Multiple channels are there. But to be complied with RBI, now merchants will have to initiate refund against the original transaction. Hence, this functionality was introduced.
Yeah, so these are the scenarios which are the complaint can be raised. So first is the successful. I just explained the screen flow. So just in a nutshell, these are the scenarios. Success, P2P, no complaint can be raised because it's P2P, person-to-person transfer. For the P2M, which is a merchant payment, for these reasons like goods services not delivered, refund not processed for the return goods, account debited, transaction confirmation not received by merchant, or duplicate payments. So these can be raised. On the pending, if adjustment is not done for the P2P, the complaint can be raised. So banks do the adjustment post during reconciliation or through online API. However, for P2M, they can raise for various reasons as given. For the failed transaction, again P2P, it is allowed only if reversal is failed for this. And same for P2M. If reversal is successful, no complaint can be permitted. And auto response will go to the customer that your account is already reversed. And for declined transaction, again, since there is a no fund movement, the complaint will not be allowed.
Now, this was more on the technical side. This slide talks about what impact UPI Help is bringing to the ecosystem. The first one being superior payment experience. So, with UPI Help, it is not only adding to the customer delight, it is basically sustenance added to the scale. So, scale is nothing without sustenance. With this, their experience will get to another level, and hence it will UPI payments will go to those corners of the world where it hasn't reached yet. Second one being,
so it also reduce recon and settlement load. How I will just explain. So we had discussed in the previous slides, few slides back, that it proactively initiates a API to the bank to know the status of the pending transaction. What happened is, before this UPI Help, bank was supposed to reconcile the transaction and update the status of those pending transaction manually through file upload, basically mostly through file upload, but they need to identify which are those that are done and whether they have done the credit to customer or reversal to customer, and if not, they need to do the manual either reversal or credit to customer, and then through file upload, they need to update the status on the NPCI portal. But what this UPI Help provides is, basically it initiate an online API to the respective bank's system, who basically on the real-time basis can update the status. So bank need not basically do the manually updation of the status. So it basically reduce the reconciliation load. And also, since the complaints and dispute can be routed on API system, it also reduce the load. And these disputes can be routed to respective merchant, and the bank system can be minimized.
Last but not the least, till now UPI Help was only for the customers. With the recently introduced refund functionality, now it covers each and every participant from customer to the last leg, that is merchant. Can we please have the AV plate?
NPCI presents UPI Help. UPI Help is a one-stop solution for customers to raise any complaint for UPI-related transaction through any UPI app. How is it going to help in business? UPI Help reduces the load on recon on settlement, attempts to give instant resolution of complaints, enables customers to initiate complaints directly through payment application. NPCI now enables merchants to issue full or partial refunds in response to customer disputes. Let's explore the refund process through UPI Help. The customer raises a complaint from the payment success screen. The merchant is promptly notified of the complaint raised. The merchant reviews the complaint and initiates the refund process. Once verified, the merchant can proceed to initiate the refund with appropriate remarks. Upon successful completion of the refund process, the merchant receives a success notification. The merchant can also monitor the refund status from dashboard. Simultaneously, the customer receives a refund alert SMS and they can check the refund status within the app. Hurry up and be a part of this new and exciting journey. Contact NPCI Relationship Manager, powered by NPCI.
Thank you. We are now open for questions if there are any. Yeah.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Do you also support partial refunds? Let's say a customer did a transaction for 1,000 rupees and goods are not delivered or whatever the reason is, and partial goods are delivered. So they just want a refund of 500 rupees instead of the full amount.
So as we showed in the video, there will be an option where the merchant can edit the amount. So yeah, the partial refunds are now part of UPI Help.
Okay, all right. And just second question, if there is any fraudulent sort of transaction where, a person has mistakenly transferred to some other person due to a scam or, it could be a mistake as well. This app currently does not support P2P refunds, right?
So, yeah, so presently it supports, so the refund is mostly on the merchant side. So P2P refunds are not being supported, it is only merchant driven. And also the fraudulent, basically, where beneficiary will not refund like that, basically. So fraudulent also being managed outside UPI Help presently.
So because this requires thorough investigation, that's why this is not part of online journey.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We can take one more question.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, so the question is with respect to this feature, once the customer raises the UPI refund requirement through the UPI Help feature, where and how would the merchant get notified about it? And once it is done, how would the refund at the back end be processed? And in case of a partial refund, the onus of checking whether it was partially refunded for, say, X amount first, and then second time it is refunded for the balance amount, the onus of checking whether it is meeting the total sale amount or not, who will own this responsibility?
Yeah, so the onus of providing this functionality to the merchant is now with acquiring banks. To wherever there is a capability to build this functionality, acquiring banks will only extend this functionality to those merchants. To answer your second question about the partial refund, so our back office has a check on the original transaction amount. So according to that, only the system will check whether there has already been a refund on this transaction, and then only there will be another refund processed on that.
And how would the actual refund work? Like, what is the backend mechanism?
Yeah, I will take this. So this online refund basically works like a online API. So it kind of on real time, it will basically send to the issuer bank along with the account detail of the customer to the credit to the customer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we proceed right away to our next masterclass on one-time mandate and multiple debits. And to lead us through the session, we have Mr. Nitish Kumar, the lead product manager, UPI NPCI. Let's give him a round of applause and welcome him up on stage, please.
So, very good afternoon all. So myself Nitish, I look after the UPI product side, and with me I have two of my brilliant technology team, Mr. Rajshekar and Mr. Santosh Swaminathan. So they looks after the technology part of the UPI. So we're going to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Rajshekar, part of technology of mobility solutions.
I'm Santosh, part of settlement systems, yourself.
Yeah, so can we move on to the slides? So today, what we are going to present you before is UPI mandate service, especially concentrating on UPI mandate with block and multiple debits. So what we will just go through, we will go through the journey of what we are proposing in this new solution. What are the basic features of this and all. Yeah, next. Yeah, sorry. So before starting directly into what the product we are offering, I would just ask the question to the audience. So today, how many of you are, I am sure, how many of you are making payments in products or service where you have to do an advance payment, but you don't have a guarantee that the goods or service will be delivered, or there will be a delay in the goods and service, but you just want to make an advance payment to the merchant? If you can just help me out with a few scenarios. Yeah. Railway tickets. Yeah, railway tickets. Yeah, we have the Tatkal wherein you end up paying, and if the seats are not confirmed, then you get a refund for that. Anything else? Yeah. IPO. Yeah, one good example. Yeah. Sorry? Any custom products we pay in advance and then. Yeah. Custom products we have ticket bookings, we have an IPO, or anything else? Yeah, hotel booking. So all sorts of bookings come into place wherein you make an advance payment for a future date, and then you may or may not travel due to some other factor. So you end up making the payment, and then end of the day you get, when you cancel it, you get a return in form of the refund. So here we have mentioned some basics wherein you make the advance payment, you do a cash on delivery, or you do an online ticket booking or a hotel booking. These things wherein we as a customer make a payment in advance to the merchant, and at end of the day, if there is a travel that we are doing, or if we are receiving the goods and service, then only the payment happens. That's what the end customer from a journey point of view looks into. Now, what are the challenges which we are trying to address here? So from a customer point of view, the customer makes the payment, but end of the day, the merchant confirms that, sorry, the booking is not available now, or there is a cancellation that you need to do, or there is no certainty that you will be receiving the goods and service. So in such case, there is a customer inconvenience happening wherein you make the payment and you have to wait for the refunds to happen. Second thing is, this time value of money. You end up making a payment to the merchant, but after a specific period of time, whatever the refund policy that the merchants are having, after whatever the deductions that are having, Post that only you will be receiving that. So that opportunity cost of money is also getting deprived from a customer point of view. From a merchant, so of course from a merchant's point of view also, there is a lot of operational operational process that they need to define for the refunds part, that they need to first cancel the invoice and raise a refund, has to reach out to a bank for a refund, and if there is any dispute happening for that, then they have to manage it. So all those sorts of operational challenges is coming for the merchant's point of view. So I will request Rajshekar to kindly step in now.
So actually whatever we want to overcome that, so that is a mandate service. So that been introduced along with the UPI during the UPI 2.0 in the year of 2018. So currently we have like two products being like mandate services are available in UPI. So one is a one-time mandate and another one is UPI autopay. So the first one is nothing but like it's a single block. Okay, we will block our funds and the single debit will happen. So it's a one-time payment. So it's a best example like it's used for the IPO things. The single payment will be used. And the autopay. So autopay is nothing but our recurrence. So like we are doing a subscription for our Netflix, so Hotstar. So those things and all, this UPI autopay will be used.
Yeah, so see, when it comes to IPO, the example that one of the gentlemen mentioned, wherein the customer, usually, traditionally what used to happen was that the investor makes the payment to the bank, and then the bank, after a definite period of time, then if the allotment is done, then only the customers will be credited with the shares, or else the refund happens. So for that, mitigating that, SEBI had introduced the ASBA kind of functionality, application supported by blocked amount. So in UPI also, in 2019, we had launched this ASBA application on UPI, wherein the customer or the investor who wants to participate in an IPO can provide his UPI ID to the intermediaries, which can be a broker, and you can block the fund in your customer's bank account. And during the listing part, if the customer has been allotted with the shares, at that point of time only the funds will be debited. And if the customers are not allotted with the shares, then the funds will be cancelled. The funds will be staying in the customer's bank account. He will be enjoying the interest for whatever the short period that he's having the funds in his account. And from a UPI standpoint of view, from IPO, UPI almost covers to around 50% of the total applications that is supported currently. So that's what we have achieved in the past couple of years. From an autopay standpoint of view, so we have around 164 banks who are supporting these recurring payments, and on a monthly basis, we are clocking around 80 million mandates on a creation part. That's just a creation part. On the execution part, wherein the customer debits happen in case of a subscription model or in case of a repayment, whatever it is, we are around 380 million transactions. So on average, on a monthly basis, we are clocking around 350 million transactions for that. So furthermore, what we can offer to the market. So with this requirement, there are certain problem statements that had come to us. So we had designed with the ecosystem participants as to what can be a possible solution or how can we enhance the mandate services going forward. So one new enhancement that we are doing on the mandate platform is the mandate with single block and multiple debits. So the key difference, so we have just mentioned it in a tabular form, what's the current mandate that is available, what is the difference between that and the new mandate. The key difference from a mandate standpoint of view will be, traditionally there was a single block, and against that block there will be one action that will be a debit or a revoke. With this new functionality or new enhancement, what we are offering is that there will be a single block, and against that block there will be multiple debits that will be initiated. So that's the key difference from a single block and multiple debits with the current mandate services that is offered in UPI. Over to Santosh for explaining the product features.
So as per this, the last discussion, what he has told, this mandate with block Y will be eligible for this recurring mandate based on the frequencies. Like we have a daily, monthly, and yearly frequency will be allowed for that mandate. And there will be always an expiration date for each mandate. So for that date, the mandate will expire. So that is a function we have selected. Then the next one is there is 100% settlement for all mandate transactions. 100% settlement will be there for all mandate transactions. And customer shall be allowed to do an edit for the mandate, or he can make updates on the mandate But as per the merchant, how he allows, he can do the edit for the mandate, which is always being created. That is the functionality.
So I will just explain what the single mandate with single block and multiple debits will be from a features point of view. From a use case, I guess you might have aware that UPI will be part of the secondary market as well, wherein the single block multiple debits will be used for the secondary market use cases. So how the journey will be, I will just showing a screen flow of that. So for example, say the customer wants to participate in the secondary market trading activities. So he goes to the intermediary, that's a broker, and then he creates a mandate or a block of, for example, say 1 lakh rupees. Now, what I do is that I essentially enter my UPI ID to that broker interface. So it can be through an intent or a QR. That is the current mode of payments that UPI having is along with the collect model. And then the customer selects any of the UPI app. That's what we are showing in the third screen. There is a set of apps that the customer is having, and he has registered there. And he goes to the UPI app by selecting any of the UPI apps that he needs to make the payment. And then he enters his UPI PIN and the mandate is created. So from a user point of view, what happens is that there is a block that is created in the customer's account, and the confirmation of this goes to the broker. The broker allows the customer to do whatever the trading activities that he needs to do within that limit, that is 1 lakh limit or whatever the limit that the customer will be setting for this. So this is the customer journey from a user perspective. So what all kinds of UPI payment modes will be applicable for such mandates? So currently we have enabled this for QR mode of payment, wherein I can scan a mandate QR and make the payment. There is an intent mode which allows me to switch between two apps through an intent call. And then there is an SDK model which gives you an in-app experience that within the broker app or the merchant app, I can open my NPCI common library, enter my UPI PIN, authorize the transaction, so the customer need not switch between apps. So these are the basic 3 methods which we will be enabling for this mandate with single block and multiple debits. Other possible use cases which we are currently exploring with the market, and you can give your suggestions as well, is wherein there is a pre-authorization service, like a couple of colleagues had mentioned that hotel bookings you end up making an advance payment. For ticket booking you make an advance payment. And for cash on delivery or e-com or custom products you make up advance payments. So what this mandate feature offers is that the merchant will get an assurance that once I deliver the goods and service, or once I fulfill my commitment to the customer, then I can initiate the debit. And from a customer point of view, what will be the advantage that the funds are still laying in my account, I can get the interest, and there is a guarantee that the merchant will be only initiating the debit post the goods and services are delivered. That's all from my end, and we can have a questions. Yeah.
This one-time mandate, is it revocable or non-revocable?
One-time mandate, it's a merchant functionality that we are providing. The merchant can decide whether the customer can revoke it or not. So of course, there will be a revoke functionality that will be available. It will be either through the merchant or in the UPI app itself. So whatever that a merchant wants to decide from their feasibility point of view, they can decide it.
Okay. And after registering the one-time mandate, if the user deletes his profile on the UPI app, then will that mandate be honored or?
No. So the user will have to have some action against that mandate. If the mandate is active, then the user will not be allowed to be deregistered. So there has to be a cancellation that needs to be done, or a debit, or some action has to be initiated from the merchant against that mandate. Then only the deregistration will be allowed.
No, but sometimes the user, he can go to the app and delete his profile, right? So in that case, will the mandate be honored or it will not be honored?
So mandate will be honored. So see, for example, say as a customer, I uninstalls the app. Okay. So those things that will be there is no check for that, because that's a user action that is happening. The mandate will be honored in the backend. Now, from a profile point of view, that essentially means that you are deactivating the UPI service. Okay. So deactivation will be only allowed if there is no active mandate is there in the customer's profile. So customer has to either go to the merchant and cancel it, then only the deactivation will be allowed.
And for normal mandate, if it is not a one-time mandate?
For one-time mandate, the deregistration also, for the normal one-time mandate also, the deregistration will be only allowed once the customer has done some action against that mandate. He has cancelled it or revoked it, or that mandate is not in an active stage.
Okay, maybe I'll connect offline with you
Yeah.
because we have seen error messages coming that the profile is deleted and mandate cannot be honored.
Sure, sure.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I'm from Bajaj Finance.
Yeah.
So we have been extensively using this product. It's a very good product for UPI 2.0.
Okay.
Only one request and recommendation would be that there is a pre-debit notification requirement, right?
Correct.
Before the transaction.
Correct.
So there we are getting some failures, and because of which there is at least a 50 points technical failure.
Okay.
So if NPCI can help us in that, it would be
Definitely, I guess you might be already in reaching with NPCI for that matter, so no issues. That will be certain operational or technical glitches here and there with the members, so that's not an issue, that we can iron it out. That's not a challenge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it ready to be used in lending use case?
The mandate with single block and multiple debits.
Yeah.
So as of now, we have restricted it to category wise. We might be exploring it for other use cases as well. So currently, as of now, lending, we have an auto pay as a product which is part of that repayment. Essentially, you are asking from a repayment standpoint of view, correct? So see, from a product feature point of view, usually there is a block that is happened, and against that only debit will be allowed. But from a lending repayment point of view, if the customer wants to block the fund because the repayment amount will be on a huge volume, right? So that repayment, the entire amount has to be blocked first, then only the debit shall happen. So we might explore going forward if there is some use case or there is some customer journey that is envisaged, it's coming and it's fitting the place, then we will be exploring it, no issue.
Then auto pay as well, right now the failure rate is, high as compared to your e-mandate, right?
Yeah, so see, auto pay point of view, the challenge or the model, how it works is that there is no blocking happening. So the business declines, if you see, on a higher rates. Because of the funds blocking or blocking not there, insufficient funds are not there, those things will be coming in.
Two questions. One is for anyone.
Yeah.
One is for anyone. When you mentioned the block funds has to be yes.
Yeah.
Right? Is that for any frequency or is that only for one time when we want to do multiple debits?
So that can be for any frequency. The block fund has to be there. And that frequency is the debit point of view. When will be the debit initiated? It will be as presented or a monthly frequency. That's the frequency, but this has to be a block functionality. It's different from the auto pay because auto pay there is no block fund.
Got it. And what happens to the pre-debit notification in all of these scenarios? Because
so in case of single block and multiple debits, there is no pre-debit notification that will be required because you are debiting initiating against the block fund. So the reason why pre-debit notification was introduced because the customer, if there is no sufficient funds available, the customer is aware that on such and such day there will be a debit coming into my account. I have to ensure that the funds are available. So that's the whole point. But here the funds are blocked, hence there is no pre-debit notification coming in.
Yeah, go ahead. Hi. So I just have two questions. One is that you mentioned that there will be 100% success rate with respect to executions, right?
Yeah.
So how exactly would that be ensured? And I'll also point the second one. That is basically, we have two-factor authentication right now with respect to UPI autopay, that is recurring payments.
Correct.
So would there be any amount in multiple debits which will have a two-factor authentication required? If let's say it goes beyond that.
Okay, so for the first question, for answer to your first question, so the 100% debit is what we are ensuring here is the basic reason because there is a block fund happening. So the funds are blocked in the customer's account, so there is no chance of a business decline happening at that case. So that is the reason we are saying that 100% settlement of funds shall be available for the block fund point of view.
That's fine, but we still have OTMs which have declines, right?
So the technical declines point of view, so in UPI we have a deemed debit concept, wherein what we have a logic defined is that if the funds are blocked and the mandate is active, there is no scenario wherein the customer's funds or the particular transactions shall decline. So we will be debiting the respective member banks and we will be crediting it. So that's a process where we define the deemed debit concept.
So would that be a process which will require manual intervention, or would that be automatically done by NPCI altogether?
So it's an automated process. There is no manual intervention. There is some fraction of transactions that there is an operational process that we defined. It's not a manual. It's not a manual kind of an activity. There is an operational process. So we are trying to automate that also.
About the second one, would there be a 2FA required?
2FA, so any which ways, when the customer is creating the mandate, there is a two-factor of authentication. The customer is authorizing the UPI PIN, but the subsequent debits shall not have a two-factor of authentication.
Irrespective of the amount?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our last 3 questions now.
Yeah.
Hey, hi. So I think to a question you answered that revoking the e-mandate, right? The customer will also have that power, as well as the merchant can also decide if the customer can revoke it or not. So I just wanted a clarification there. I think merchant cannot decide that whether they allow the users to revoke the e-mandate.
No. So basically for the mandate with single block and multiple debits, when the customer is initiating, he will be going to the merchant interface. Okay. So the merchant will have a logic at their end whether the customer needs to provide a revoke functionality at their UPI app.
Okay.
So that will be something that the merchant will be deciding. It's not that the customer cannot revoke it at all. Customer can revoke it, but the flow will be that he has to go to reach out to the merchant first. If there is any obligation that he needs to fulfill, then he will be debiting it and the remaining amount will be unblocked.
Sure. Thank you.
Hi, I have a question on the e-commerce side of it.
Yeah.
So let's say we have a situation where a customer subscribes for a product monthly and they block a certain amount using this, right? But from the e-commerce website end, they have a 7-day return policy if the customer is not satisfied.
Correct.
So in case going forward monthly, in a particular month, a customer is not satisfied with the product, how does the refund part work in this case?
So see, e-com, from a subscription model, we might not explore that in a subscription model, this mandate functionality. The reason why, because subscription model, basically the customer's funds gets blocked. In subscription model, usually you don't end up blocking your accounts basically. So if I have a Netflix subscription, I have some amount of monthly, I don't block my entire, because the key difference with an autopay and a mandate is that the debit, whatever it is, will be against a block. You cannot be creating or updating a block again and again. Now from an e-commerce point of view, if the customer there will not be a monthly frequency from an e-commerce point of view, I believe, because it's basically you will be purchasing a product and then they will be delivering. If there are multiple products that is there, if there is any issue with one of the product, then that has to be get raised with the merchant. So he might not debit that fund. He might refund that fund back to the customer's account. So that entirely depends on how the merchant works with the refund policy.
Can there be a possibility that, let's say, we just block the amount for those 7 days until when the merchant has that particular policy, and then we release the amount
yes,
to merchant
possible.
side or to customer side, whatever is the
possible, that's possible. So the merchant, once the whole delivery of goods and services are done, the merchant will be initiating the debit. If there is any one product which has not been delivered, then he can deduct that amount and the remaining amount will be debited. The remaining amount can be unblocked from the customer's account.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. In continuation with the revocation of man debits in UPI autopay specifically, if the customer revokes the mandate from the payment app, basically the UPI app.
No, where are you?
Can you see me?
Okay, yeah.
In continuation with the revocation of mandate from the UPI app, I don't see any option that the merchant gets to know of it, or if the merchant has to apply any fulfill any obligation, we don't see any option. The customer can automatically cancel from the UPI app and that's all.
Correct. So that's from an autopay point of view. Correct. So here what we are saying is that that functionality will be something that will be wholly decided by the merchant. So if the merchant says that I don't want the customer to have an option of revoking at their UPI app, if they want to revoke, they have to come through me. I will ensure that the revoke happens in a seamless manner. So in such cases, the revoke option from a UPI mandate with block functionality will be something that is on a tag level based. We have a provision in UPI APIs where the revocable flag, what the merchant wants to pass, whether it's Y or N, is something that is to be passed. And post that only, the UPI app will provide the customer the interface. And if there is any revoke happening, then that confirmation will go to the merchant that there is a revoke happened for this particular mandate.
Got it. So UPI autopay won't get this feature, or this will
UPI autopay won't have this feature. This particular functionality which we are saying here is for mandate with single block and multiple debits only.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a lending point of view, let us say I'm making a presentation for a mandate and the balance is insufficient. So is NPCI also considering partial collection of money, wherein you are able to, let's say, judge the customer's balance, and if less amount is possible, then at least less amount is partially collected?
Currently, I guess that particular transaction gets declined with an insufficient balance because the debit request is of an X amount, but the balance is not available. We don't do a partial debit as such. The debit has to happen for that entire amount of whatever is passed.
But are you guys considering making something like that?
As of now, we will take your suggestion, no issues. We will take, but that entirely depends on how the functionality works, because partial amount crediting to the merchant of no use. Because then you have to define an entire process separately if the partial amount is coming into picture and all. So we might explore it if there is a requirement from the market.